Welcome back to the In the Woods podcast. Today we have Pastor Dr. Pete Goodman.
Pastor Doctor? Yeah, I like that.
Pastor Dr. Pete Goodman. Dr. Matthew Hennessy.
Thank you.
We're excited to get to know
Call you
him.
Pastor too if you want.
Yes.
I'll take anything you need.
Yeah. And depending on your ailment, Dr. Saracero.
Can I just start with like doctor? Oh, doctor.
Welcome in.
Yeah. I just want to clarify, I'm not like a real doctor. I don't,
You're
heal things.
You're a Chris Conrad doctor.
We're about titles here at the In the Woods podcast.
Yeah. I was like, if I'm on a plane and someone's like, help, we need a doctor, I'm not raising my hand, okay?
You're going to ask them epistemological questions of, what do you mean you
Well,
need help?
I could talk to you about first century Judaism.
Yeah.
You're turning blue, though, so that's probably not going to help.
Yeah. How's this making you feel?
Yes. But, the collection of doctors is here. The doctors are in.
Doctors are in.
How about that one?
Changing the podcast name.
Yeah. So I had children that were young during the Doc McStuffins popularity era of the Disney Junior channel.
Aware but not watched because my kid was not young
I watched
enough.
a lot of Doc McStuffins. Come and let the healing begin. The doc
missed that.
is in.
Ooh.
And with that,
Yes.
let's dive into
Beautiful
this.
segue.
You guys didn't know you're going to get some singing out of this.
Yeah. It's a treat.
Yep. Good to see you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Dr. Matt.
Matt's good.
Okay.
Matt's good.
I used your government name.
I'm not a necessity of doctor in front of me.
Well, this is your first time on the In the
Yes.
Woods podcast.
Excited to be here.
And
Avid fan.
avid fan.
Yes.
I think I would say that's definitely true, given that like every week there's
You
a
are.
comment, and I'm like, one comment, probably Matt Hennessy. Yes, it is.
This is the super fan episode with
Super fan episode.
Matt Hennessy.
I won a contest. If you ask 300 questions, you get on a podcast.
Actually,
only
when
submission.
we first started talking about doing a podcast, you and I had actually talked about it.
Yep.
The problem is you work on Mondays, so it's kind of tough. We were able to move things around today to get you on. We're actually recording a day later.
I really appreciate it.
So let's do this. Let's start with just who you are and I don't know what good questions. Just a little bit of backstory on you and who you are, so our folks that listening can know who they're listening to.
Yeah. So Matt Hennessy. I am originally a Michigander and grew up in the church. I actually grew up in the Episcopal Church. And so the Book of Common Prayer, all the stand-up, sit-down, fight, Nicene Creed, all of that. And when I've actually gone back for funerals and weddings and things, it just flows right into me. I have not been there since 7th grade consistently.
But you still remember it all.
Oh, it is. It's amazing how repetition is such a good teacher.
So just real clarity,
yes.
the Episcopal Church is the American version of the Church of England. They changed it to Episcopal because we were pretty mad at those English people during the Revolutionary. But the reason why it's what he was just saying is the Church of England reformed some of its theology, but kept a lot of the high church liturgy from the Catholic Church when it reformed. So the Episcopal Church today still does things that can look a little bit like you might be in a Catholic church, but they are technically Protestants. It's just for clarity, people don't talk.
So, but see, that's a wonderful example, and I apologize. It's not my job to come in here and pat you on the back, but that's the kind of nerd stuff. I had no idea Episcopal Church, Church of England, because of the name thing. It makes total sense when you said it. I had no idea that information. So that's actually pretty cool.
Very. They try very hard to hide it because so we're Wesleyans, and John Wesley was also an Anglican. He was an English church person. So Methodists, Nazarenes, Episcopals, they all come from the same place. Okay. But Wesleyans wanted to get rid of some of the ritual and tradition. They became more what we call low church. They don't have all the, they don't follow the Book of Common Prayer and things like that. Whereas the Episcopal still really sticks to it. So
very interesting. Well, I did the acolyte. I did the altar boy, whatever you want to call it. Acolyte was the term.
You have kind of altar boy vibes to you.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
See, here's a problem, because you set me up for sarcastic statements back, and this is still a church podcast, so no sarcastic answers back.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that statement.
I think that was a real statement, though. You'd be at the top of our list.
I just meant like
thank
you smile.
Yes.
I bet you were. Here's the thing. I'm not trying to be weird here. I bet you were a really cute kid. Were you a cute kid?
So the phrase towhead. Is that a phrase?
Because you're blonde hair.
Yes.
And
so a white blonde. My mother always used the term towhead, and a lot of people use the term towhead. And when we have towheads come in the office, I always say to the girls up front, I says, I was that adorable at that age.
Yeah.
I always will point those kids out and say, I used to be that adorable. I use past tense, but I was definitely an adorable kid. So
Probably had a lot of energy. You're probably
Well,
smiling all the time.
as I've lovingly say, I've never met a stranger in my life. So yes,
Everyone's
energy
your best friend as you meet him.
exactly. I'd go to the grocery store and just run off and just start making friends. And then mom would holler my name at the, we grew up in a smaller town at first until 3rd grade. And she'd holler my name and I'd come running and I'd usually bring a new friend with me and introduce and say, Mom, this is Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones has 2 cats, Mom. And, it was awesome. Cool. That's my upbringing there. But until 7th grade, we went to an Episcopal church. So very traditional, very rigid. I don't mean that in a negative sense. But then when we stepped away from that, we had moved and we stepped away from that church because it was just far away. And we started going to a Willow Creek style church. And it actually was a Willow Creek Association church, which is the seeker sensitive. And so lower level messages, but very intentional with the program. My mom actually ended up becoming the program director because that's just the gifting that she has.
This was in Michigan.
This is in Michigan. Okay. Yeah, east side of the state is where I'm originally from. And the whole time, I'm growing up in the church. So I have that blessing of being grown up in the church, but I don't necessarily recall, other than maybe it was like a homework assignment for Sunday school or something, where we ever really opened the Bible. And we would say prayers at dinner, but it was the, dear Lord, thank you for this food. And boom, let's just start eating the macaroni and cheese. It wasn't an intentionality of digging into the word. But the way I got my Christianity deepened and embedded, and you can see it for anyone that knows me, is my parents were servants. And we were serving from day one. And we were serving everybody. I was in low elementary, and we would go serve the soup kitchen, and my mom would make me go serve out with the tables, not cleaning dishes, because she goes, I need you to understand that these are people. And these people need to feel loved and appreciated and cared about. And so that is anyone that sees me interacting in the church, sees me interacting anywhere, sees that attribute of me. That's because that's what my parents taught me. Willow Creek style church, we were meeting in a school. So all our stuff was packed up in a warehouse, and we had to get up at 4 a.m. on a Sunday, unpack all the stuff. And my dad led that team. Once again, you can kind of see how these things are wired into me. I love stacking chairs at church because of stuff like that. We had to set up the entire church, do all the sound checks, do all the alls. We had to take it all down. We didn't get home until like 2:30 on a Sunday, and there was no complaining because that's what we did. But at the same time, I knew the flannel graph stories, but I didn't actually live it. And it wasn't until college, I went away to college, and I had a college experience my first semester. And because of how I was brought up, I knew Jesus, I loved Jesus, but I also made these rules that made me a good person. And I had a challenging moment that I broke one of those rules. And I'm so thankful the Holy Spirit was working on me at that time and said, listen, dummy, your rules are stupid. And I'm not a ease into guy. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I don't dilly-dally. Like, resolutions are dumb to me because if I want to do it, I'm just going to do it. I don't care if it's December 28th. It doesn't have to be January 1st. Like, just do it. And so that crisis of faith, which was February of 97, that crisis of faith for me was, and I call it a crisis of faith now, but I didn't realize it then. I just said, I'm doing it wrong. I got to figure this out. Now, thankfully, my sister was going to a Christian fellowship at Central Michigan, 2 years older than me, and I was seeing her life changed. And it was weird, but I saw there was something there to it. And so I went, this is what I have to do. I got to pour myself into Jesus. And the real thing I did is I said, I have to learn how to love Jesus more than anything. And so as someone who used to be a serial dater, like a ridiculous serial dater, I said, I'm not going to date again until I find the woman I'm going to marry.
I thought you were like taking Captain Crunch boxes and putting dates on them. Oh, a
No,
serial dater.
A serial. That's good. That's good. That was also a solid Battle Creek joke.
Yeah.
And
All right, there you go. Post or
yeah,
something.
we're thinking together. We're thinking together. But so for 2.5 years, I didn't go on a date. And I would tell people this. I'd go, you know what? No, I'm Jesus first. No, Jesus first, Jesus first, Jesus first, including my future bride. A year before we ever even started dating. And so when I asked her on a date, she had an incredible amount of pressure on her because she knew that I wasn't going to even ask somebody on a date until I felt like it was somebody I was going to marry. And so that was
How old were you when you guys started dating?
I was 20.
Okay.
Yeah. I was 20. She was a different age. She's not older than me. I wouldn't say that on a podcast. That'd be dangerous. But yeah, I was 20. She was 21. And that's when we started dating. Date 10 months, engaged 10 months, married.
So you were married at 21?
I was 22. She
22.
was 23.
Ah, the Midwest.
Yes.
So
And the fun of that as well too is I needed to get a couple extra credits. So we had a ceremony in the spring to graduate, but I needed just a couple extra summer credits. So my official graduation was August 5th of 2000. Why do I know my official graduation? Because I got married that day.
Oh.
I didn't actually go to graduation. I went to my wedding. I think my wife appreciates it.
2000, you're so old.
I am.
I didn't graduate in 2001.
Well, and so going back to the
That's younger.
the towhead, I'm becoming a towhead again because I'm so old. Because
it's turning gray.
The gray.
So, as a profession,
Yeah.
we said you're a doctor. Did you go to school originally with that in mind, or did that change? Or
Great question. Great question. Suburban kid. I went to school with the thing of that's what suburban kids do. You know, I don't know about other people's high schools, but in my high school, they'd put up a big board and they'd say, so-and-so is going to Michigan, so-and-so is going to Michigan State, so-and-so is going to Notre Dame. And
they laugh at the kids going to Michigan State?
listen. We did ride a shorter bus, but no, they did not laugh at us. It's a different story too why I went there, because I actually grew up a U of M fan. But yeah, so they felt this necessity. Can I give my chiropractic testimony?
Your what?
My chiropractic testimony.
Oh yeah. All right.
It'll answer this question. So 13 years old, no experience with chiropractic in our family whatsoever, and my mom, and I'm a mama's boy. So mom's the world, and mom incredibly active, incredibly involved. If there was a PTA board or something, she's going to be president. She's active, she's involved, she's doing everything. And 13 years old, mind you, once again, notice that 1 week a month, 13-year-old boy, I didn't understand 1 week a month for a woman at that time. 1 week a month, her hips would lock up on her, and she just really couldn't get around very well. And then we had a month where her hips totally locked up and she was bedridden. And the neighbor across the street says, Diane, you should go try my chiropractor. And we had no experience. So she goes to the chiropractor, and my mom never had anything like that ever again. Not that she didn't have pain here and there, but her hips never locked up again. She's never had that kind of problem again. And the chiropractor says to her, Diane, I'm a lot more than bad hips. I want to check your kids. And so my sister's 2 years older. My sister and I go to the chiropractor, and I walk in there, and I see two things. The first thing I see is people actually want to go to this doctor. 13-year-old brain, you don't want to go to the doctor. It's a punishment. It's not something you want to do, but people were actually happy to be there. And then the second thing is I know it was basketball season because I was the classic football, basketball, baseball kid. I know it was basketball season because I walk in, we start doing the exam, and Dr. Whitbeck starts talking to me about the Pistons. And we're just having this give and take conversation. I'm like, wait, this guy just gets to talk to people for a living? So people want to go to this doctor, and he gets to talk to people for a living. I'm like, I want to do this.
Made you want to take a crack at it.
Man, this guy is on fire today. Dang it. I'm just
Sarah.
I feel like I'm setting him up today.
apologize.
But yes. And so I went and told Mom, I says, Mom, I think I want to be a chiropractor. So she told Dr. Whitbeck, and he then proceeded to mail the information for Palmer College of Chiropractic in Davenport, Iowa, where he went. He says, you can go to any school you want as long as it's that one, which, it's a fun statement. And believe it or not, you actually have to get a high school diploma and a bachelor's of science to go to chiropractic school. So I couldn't go to chiropractic school at 13.
Gotcha.
When you go through school, at least for me, you just at some point feel a little burnt out, like, okay, I'm just tired of school. And so, yeah, I went to undergrad because I just felt like the right thing to do. My goal was to graduate in 4 years and then just figure it out after that. So I went through undergrad, and not with the strict purpose of becoming a chiropractor. We got married and went out to the real world and went to look for a job. And you know what a horrible job is to try to look for? One, you have no clue what it is. And I, looked at insurance. I looked here, I looked there, and I'm looking in the paper. We were in Davison, Michigan, outside of Flint, and looking in the paper, and it says chiropractic assistant. And I'm like, I used to want to be a chiropractor. And I went, applied, and they says, we've never had a male apply for this before. It says, cool, you're going to hire your first male then too. And so I got hired. The very first day, they just happened to have a health class that night, which obviously I love teaching and connecting and talking. And so I went to the health class, and I came over from that health class, and I went to Laura, and I says, I'm going to chiropractic school. And I need to grab a few extra like organic chemistries and things to get the proper credits. But that's what we took us out to Davenport, Iowa, and the rest they say is history.
The rest is history. Well, cool. That's good background. And his background even kind of a pun too, but I'll leave that one alone.
We'll go with it.
That wasn't intended.
Okay.
My first interaction with you though was you were part of the search team.
I know.
That was
I'm honored, actually. I've been reflecting. I'm the first search team member to sit in this hot seat. I like it.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was our
I told
first.
you I'm a super fan.
Yeah, I met. So you're one of the first people here at Woodland I got to meet and connect with,
Yes.
and just really appreciated. I felt your natural personality, but also intentional, really made me and my family feel welcome. And you're one of the people that kind of was like, I like this place, and you got us zoo tickets, which was,
Yes.
I was like, a zoo in Battle Creek. And I'm like, that's a nice zoo.
It's a good zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yes.
legit.
Well, cool, man. It's good to have you on. I've been wanting to do it for a while. And, there are a number of ways that you serve here at Woodland and different ways involved, but also you are somebody that has a really strong biblical background and understanding of Scripture. And I always knew from the get-go you'd be a good person just to get with Sarah and I to have these conversations. And I'm glad we were able to make this one work.
Good.
So thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
I'm ecstatic to be here.
Yesterday so we're staggering our messages at Marshall and Battle Creek. And the reason is I wanted to give the first message about our vision statement at both of them. So I did one, I was at Marshall last week, and then yesterday I was at Battle Creek, same message. So if you are a Marshall attender, you would, and we're just a week behind, but we're talking about the same thing. We're just introducing our new vision statement and what's behind it. And so, if you haven't had a chance to watch that at other campuses, I encourage you to jump online and do that. But really the big idea was looking at how we as Christians sometimes have a tendency to make Christianity too much about getting to heaven and not enough about actually experiencing the life that God has for us. And so we introduced a new vision statement, which just Woodland Church existing to be a church helping people in Calhoun County and beyond find life to the fullest by following Jesus. So what does that mean? How does it unpack? And that's kind of where we were at. I've been excited to kind of bring that out. And I made a comment. I think I said it at one of the services. I don't remember, but it's actually something that's been with me for a long time. Mm-hmm. I briefly shared at one service that we went on a missions trip in mid-2000s, and the guy running the trip during this long 20-hour bus drive, he gave us this exercise where we had to write our own life mission statement, all these questions and things. Mm-hmm. And that was 2006. And when it was done, I had John 10:10. I want to follow Jesus to find life. And it's been with me for 20 years. I wrote a book about it just because I wanted to know. I went to school about it. I chose to go to school not because I needed a degree the way that you did to be a chiropractor. I went back for my doctorate just because I found a program that would let me study this issue. And I was so curious about it. I just wanted to know. That degree means nothing now, but the information was helpful to me. Yeah. And so that's kind of where it came out yesterday. And the big idea, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, in a little insider baseball, because I
insider baseball.
I don't know that phrase.
All
right. So that was a '90s thing.
Oh.
You were around, by the way.
Like the TV show,
yes,
like ESPN.
Okay.
Yes,
it was a show. I don't know if it was even prior to ESPN, but whatever. My point being is, I grabbed the search team notes real quick, and I just went. And I said because we asked a question about vision, and I went. I remember he said some really cool things in here, and one of the things that I highlighted is you said, we want to be a church that makes the gospel attractive to our community. And to me, that's very congruent with the follow Jesus, attitude that you're expressing is you want it to be attractive. So as you expressed even from the stage, you said, hey, this has been on my heart. And that's why I went back to my notes. I know it's been on his heart. And I just wanted to even go back to our interviews and look and see. And that was something very clearly stated, which to me is extremely congruent with what you're expressing.
The word attraction is a weird word too, because like you said, you spent time in what you call the Willow Creek Church. We've talked about that on this podcast before. They describe themselves as an attractional model.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean when I say it.
Yeah.
Not to disparage them, but like they mean, let's make our Sunday morning services attractive. Like, I want to be here. This is fun. So what I found, and just to unpack some of this, like for me, this is like, it's not just looking at the gospel in the sense of the New Testament, but it's looking at the whole story of the Bible. This moment when God calls this guy Abraham and says, I am going to make you the father of many nations. And we now know in retrospect, it was this whole plan to eventually lead to Jesus. What I struggle with, and I kind of tied, I made a comment in the sermon how there's this struggle sometimes between like the birth story and the cross and worrying about the stuff in between. Mm-hmm. There's a similar problem in the Old Testament. There's like the call of Abraham, and then there's the prophecies about a Messiah. And then it's like, so do we care about the rest of it? And it can almost feel like the entire story of the Jewish people is like almost as if they're just a carrier for like a seed for Jesus to eventually arrive. You know, like almost like they're like a syringe to finally bring the medicine. It's their only purpose.
Yeah.
But if you actually step back, that's not how it starts. When God calls Abraham, you actually see in Genesis, he tells us why he's doing it. He does it because he says, I am going to call you to follow me, trust me, put faith, this word, but like do what I tell you to do and trust it's good. And when you do that, your descendants are going to be so blessed that the rest of the world is going to look at you and say, hey, we want that. And they're going to come to this place that will eventually be Jerusalem and want to worship this God because this God makes our lives better. So the whole point of Israel was not to get to Jesus. That's actually kind of what we'd call anachronistic, reading back in the wrong way. Jesus actually even comes and says, part of the reason I'm here is you failed at your mission. Because instead of making God attractive to the world, you made it all about yourself. You wandered away, you were unfaithful, then you just became completely self-absorbed. And not only did you not make Yahweh, the one true God, attractive, you made him a laughingstock to the world. And the whole, like Jesus is like, we're doing something different, and I'm now calling a new church that's going to be a city on a hill that people will actually look to. So all Christianity, going all the way back, whether you call it Christianity or Judaism, the whole story of the scriptures is God using these different groups of people to show that if you would just trust him and follow him, it'll be so much better for you. Like throughout the Old Testament, like, do you choose this day who do you serve? Do you want life or do you want death? Do you want blessing or cursing? Follow me, I will give you life and blessing. Ignore me, it's going to be death and curses. And that goes all the way through, and then Jesus picks it up. Do you want life? Come and follow me. Like, and then when you do, it will be attractive because everybody wants life. Everybody. So one thing we all have in common. And so to be a church that's attractive is not a heart or desire to be like, we want our Sunday morning to pop and people are like, this is awesome. Like, I want people's lives to pop. And like, you look at your neighbor and you're like, what is about your life that is so much better? And the answer is, oh, Jesus showed me how to find this. Yeah. Like, that is attractive Christianity. And it's what I want to be. And it's what I mean when I say we exist to help people find life and then overflow it. The overflow is, I want that too. And it does overflow because Jesus is right, and he's always right. It always works.
Well, and I think I like the word overflow because I'm a thinker. I'm always thinking. I'm always analyzing. I'm always compartmentalizing. And one of the ways I like to describe myself is I like to ooze Jesus. I'm just oozing Jesus all the time. So Jesus just comes up naturally and easily for me. But that's the overflowing attitude that you're talking about. And when you say attractive, you want to make people that ooze Jesus. We want to be a church of people that are just oozing Jesus, that just go, the marketing phrase of, light yourself on fire so everyone can come watch you burn. That's a little graphic sounding, right? But we've heard that phrase before. But I that's what I see when I hear overflowing is we're just trying to ooze Jesus.
So here's what I'm with you, but I also want to clarify it. And so this brings in my own personal experience. Growing up, I found a lot of people around me who You could easily say ooze Jesus because they talked about God all the time and they went to church all the time.
Yep.
But then you look at their life, and I don't just mean like, well, they were hypocrites. That's not what I'm not talking about hypocrisy. I'm just saying, like, has this made your life any better?
Yeah.
Like you talk a lot about you can quote all these scriptures, but you're on your fourth marriage, your kids don't talk to you, and you're bankrupt. Like, but I don't. So like to me, it's not just like oozing Jesus is like a way for, if we're gonna use that phrase, for that phraseology, I would want it to be like, I'm oozing like fruit of the Spirit that points to the fact that Jesus led me here. Mm-hmm. Like I don't just care about talking about Jesus. Like just talking about Jesus is like, okay, there he is. It's like no, when he calls me to something, look at what it brings. Like it's goodness. And like I'm oozing a life that overflows the goodness of God that Jesus is bringing me into. And so Jesus is the reason for it. But like to just ooze like religion or Christianity is kind of what I grew up in. And it was like, they believed it and they were all genuine. I didn't look at they were all hypocrites or anything like that. It was just like, I didn't see it actually making people's lives different in a real substantial way. And so I did see, and we've talked about this as well, an entire movement that I think went way too far, that basically was like, it'd be called like name it, claim it, or word of faith. Like God just wants to give you stuff, so believe some stuff. Yeah. And that's a complete misrepresentation of all what we're saying. He's not just saying ask for it and believe in your heart. He's saying trust me and follow me and obey me, and I will lead you, like the psalmist says, to green pastures. So yeah, it's the green pastures that I want to really have the world see.
So are you saying that when you say overflowing, are you saying if the fruits of the Spirit are genuine, that's what you're saying by overflowing?
Here's the beauty of the fruit of the Spirit. And the fruit of the Spirit is, I think Paul is connecting. I think Paul's thinking when he says that in Galatians, I think he's thinking of Psalm 1, which says, blessed is the man or person who meditates on his law day and night. Like your word is hidden in my heart. Yeah. It says they will be like a tree planted by a stream of water, which is like the strongest, healthiest place you can be, that bears fruit in season. The tree doesn't have to force itself to bear fruit. When a tree is healthy, it bears fruit. An apple tree is not like, oh, I'm just going to make this apple. Yeah. When an apple tree is healthy, boom, there's an apple. And you pick it and eat it and it's good. When a person lives by the Spirit and trusts and follows Jesus, you're not trying or forcing to like, it's like he's leading you. He's a shepherd that guides you into the pasture, and there's green grass. And so Paul says the fruit of the Spirit, and he gives you all these adjectives, which are, every person I know would read those adjectives and be like, yeah, I want that. Who doesn't want love, joy, peace, faithfulness, patience, all these things that I'm not forcing myself to have patience. I'm following Jesus and letting his Spirit change me and lead me and guide me. And suddenly patience is there. And then people who struggle and strive to figure out how to be more patient look at it and say, how are you being so patient right now? You must just be really disciplined. Yeah. It's like the only discipline I'm really needing is being the discipline of actually spending time with Jesus and choosing to follow him. Yeah. The fruit comes naturally and overflows. So yeah, it is like, it is just, it's me wanting to, I want that in my life. I want it selfishly. It's a whole other conversation, but some people like talk about whether or not you should have selfish motives. And I'm always like, every human has selfish motives. Oh, not me. You're following Jesus because you want to go to heaven and not go to hell.
There's a reason it says treat others as you want to be treated. Right. Because naturally you're like, this is how I want to be treated first and foremost.
Exactly. Therefore, and I think Jesus looks at, his disciples are arguing about greatness. Yeah. Jesus looks at them and he doesn't say, stop arguing about being great. That's stupid. Go be a servant. Yeah. He says, if you want to be great, here's the way to find it. He acknowledges the thing inside of me that wants my life to count, that wants my life to have purpose and joy and meaning. Yeah. He put all of those things in me. They're not evil. They're not broken. What's evil and broken is the lies in my head that tell me you'll find it by doing these things over here, when really those things are just destructive. He's like, no, that's the shadow of death. Let me lead you over here and you'll find the green pasture. And so like, I want the green pasture. And then even like wanting others to find it, I would say I want my family to find it because as humans, we love our families, right? That sort of sense. But beyond that, it's not just that I'm like filled with this supernatural love for people I don't know. That some of that is there. It does happen. Jesus does that to us. But it's also like, I want my kids to grow up in a certain kind of world.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to suffer, and brokenness sucks. And I just think about people hurting, and nobody wants to think about people hurt. Like there is this side of me that is selfishly wanting a better world for other people because I want to live in a better world. I want my family in a better world, and I just don't want people to suffer. And so the idea of overflowing and bringing other people in isn't just because I naturally like people the way that you do. Like God is saying, Pete, you're part of making the world what it should be. And that's the world I want to live in. So it's both, right? It's all of it.
Well, but I appreciate when you say the world I want to live in is because you're stepping into my heart. And I know you have a doctorate, apparently that's worthless. Congratulations. I have a master's that's worthless. I have a master's in Christian apologetics because I'm passionate about worldview. Because I look and go, that God's way is better. It's as simple as that. As you really start playing out, this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, God's way is better. And so that's what you're saying, you're seeking in all this. One of the many cornerstone thoughts in my head is we're told very clearly that we're image bearers of God. So every single person we ever meet is an image bearer of God, even the idiots. And I've met a few. And that drives me every single day to step back and to pause and go, okay, this is an image bearer of God. They have value and worth in an eternal sense. And when you jump from the in-between to the, it's not just about the eternal, it's what I really appreciate, because you brought in a really deep thing when you said, well, what's the point of church? And I'm resonating with that like crazy, knowing that we just did a doctoral dissertation question right there. But you also made it accessible for us on Sunday morning. And I really appreciate that, because that's an important thing. But when you take a doctoral dissertation thing, people can get confused.
Yeah.
And they can go, well, what do you mean about this? This eternal is not as important. Of course the eternal is important. But if you're not in the here and now, if you're not interacting with each individual person and loving on each individual person as the image bearer of God that they are, which is eternal worth, and there's nothing better you could have than that, then what's the point of right now? We can't just be focused and have a future mindset. You very much taught in the present tense, and that was important, but it doesn't mean you downplayed the eternal.
Yeah. I think I might have accidentally. And that's fair. I even told our staff this morning, I did have some regrets about my message on Sunday. I went off script a little bit from where I might have gone when I was the week before at Marshall, but I made a comment related to like Greek philosophy. Like, and I think I said, that's not Christianity, it's Greek philosophy relating to heaven. And in retrospect, I realized like that was probably a statement I should have like paused and spent an hour talking about. And actually I got a great email this morning asking for clarity, and some people talked to me after service. The thing is, I think maybe I'll just state a couple things just for clarity's sake. The Bible, the New Testament, the Old Testament's vague. The New Testament seems to pretty much imply in what I would say a pretty clear way, that when a follower of Jesus dies, some part of them continues on with him. Now, you might hear that and say, well, Pete, you're kind of hedging there. Why don't you just, like, they go to heaven, right? All these kinds of things. The reality is, here's the short reality. What that looks like is not nearly as clear in the Bible as some Christians want it to be and pretend it is, or have just accepted church tradition, or like, well, I've heard this. That was like, we live up in a city in space, or whatever it is. Like, the reality is, what happens to me when I die is not clear in the Bible, other than the fact that Jesus communicated to us, and you see it then picked up in the other letters, that you're going to be with him and you're okay. I could point to the moment of the transfiguration when, you've got Moses and Elijah talking to Jesus. Well, they're obviously still mentally conscious on some level, and Jesus says, I'm the God of the living. And then, you have references to a great cloud of witnesses that are cheering us on. You have references where Jesus says, I'm going to go and prepare a place for you. And then you have, him telling the thief on the left, today you'll be with me in paradise. So the whole tradition of Christianity from that moment on has always held the belief that there is a part of you on some level that is going to continue to be probably conscious and awake and experiencing existence in some way with God that is not the same as being physically on earth. Mm-hmm. So if you want to call that I'm going up to heaven or whatever, sure, I'm fine with that. Sure, okay. Whatever it is, because heaven is simply a different plane of existence. And God is spirit, so heaven is some sort of spiritual realm that is not physical the way you and I would think of it. So I wasn't trying to say that we don't go to heaven when we die for Christians. But if you look at 1 Thessalonians 5, Paul is talking to Christians who were worried that Jesus hadn't come back soon enough and people were starting to die. And they were like, well, wait, what if I die before he comes back? Like, am I going to miss everything he's supposed to do? And Paul's answer is not, no, it's all about you dying and going to heaven. Don't worry about it. His answer is, no, if you die, if you fall asleep, he uses the sleep language. When Jesus does come back, all those who have fallen asleep, he is going to bring back with him, and they will be the first to be resurrected. So if you think about that language, the first to be resurrected, Paul did not use resurrection language to speak of you going to heaven when you died. Resurrection language was when he brings you, whatever part of you that's awake, brings it back and gives you a physical body again. That's resurrection. He directly compares it to Jesus walking out of the tomb with a physical body. It's a spiritual body in the sense that it's somehow revived or enlightened by the Spirit of God, but it's physical. And then it says, we meet him in the air, we welcome him in, everyone comes together, and all those who are faithful rule and reign on the earth forever. So there's also an eternal aspect of it. The main thing I wanted to communicate was, in a sense, whatever part of you that stops being physically alive when you actually die here on earth goes somewhere else, that is temporary. Like, that is a temporary situation which has been brought on according to the Bible because of sin. Like, humans were always meant to be sustained by God and live physically with God's presence in our lives, and death wasn't part of it. Because death became part of it, that's the only reason why there appears to be something that God does with us until resurrection can happen. Yeah. So if that's the big picture, and then you see that in Revelation as well, and you see it in 1 Corinthians 15, Jesus is coming back, bringing those who have died, resurrecting their physical bodies, and then the people who are alive when he comes back remain in that state. If Jesus came back today, this is I don't know, would I be somewhat changed? He seems to imply maybe it gets better. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe we lose our wrinkles. I don't know. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, we are here. Like, we're not in a cloud. We're not in a different spiritual reality. We are physical beings and filled with God's Spirit, giving us life. And so if that's the case, then as Paul says in Romans, start living now as if that's already happened, because you have the Holy Spirit now. So you can start right now to live that kind of life that's going to be eternal today, because God's Spirit is in you, and he's with you, and you can start experiencing what life is supposed to look like today. And the mission of the church is to invite people into that, to invite people into this great thing where we get to experience it now, restoring relationship with God, the Holy Spirit living inside of us, changing us, growing us, and starting to live the way it's going to look like for eternity, even though he hasn't yet come back and fully redeemed it all. So yeah, I do believe in life after death. As N.T. Wright says, I more wanted to focus on life after death, which is the ultimate story of the Bible and what we're about. So all that coming back around, if the purpose is we're coming back, there's resurrection here, I'm still a human being, I still have a physical body, I'm still alive on this planet, what's my purpose? And I would argue that my purpose hasn't changed ever. From Genesis chapter 1, let us make man in our image, that purpose will continue into eternity. Your purpose as a human being is to be an image bearer of God, which an image bearer was a leader that God's chose or selected to manage or lead some part of the world of creation or people. Like, we are managers, we are caretakers, we are people who are called to cultivate creation and live in it. That doesn't end because death is a speed bump. Like, if in the grand scheme of eternity, the last 5,000 years are a speed bump. Eternity is going to look like the beginning.
Yeah.
We're in this intermediate period that God is cleaning up because we made a mess of it. And we're going to get back to what it was supposed to be. And the message of scriptures is you can get back to it today and start living that. I rabbit trailed. I'm sorry.
But you did good. But what
Great
I think is really important, just 3 quick hitters off that, is what I really appreciate when you set up 1 Thessalonians 5. And it was when we moved down to North Carolina to open my office down in North Carolina. That's where we first started attending an expository teaching church with a wonderful guy named Bobby Conway.
Expository meaning he's walking through the Bible but itself verse by verse.
Yes. And I had never had experience with that because I was coming out of this Willow Creek type attitude.
Were they more like pick a topic and talk about the topic?
Let's talk about
marriage or finances.
Yes.
Sure. Both are good. They both have a place.
So it was just the Bible came to life to me at that stage in my life in a totally different way. But what you just did is you set up that context. And just think of how amazing it is that Christianity survived when people are going, wait, Jesus hasn't come back yet? And it's like 20 years later. We're going 2000 now. And look at what Christianity is. That just shows you God's hand behind this entire thing.
Sure.
It's just absolutely an incredible, amazing thing. The other thing is, as you're giving these wonderful references, from my perspective, and you might have a different reference you'd recommend, but Randy Alcorn's Heaven is the book that I generally feel is a very good scriptural description of heaven for those that have questions when someone has lost a loved one and they have questions. It's a very accessible book. I don't know if that's a book that you would generally recommend for people that have questions about what heaven is.
If we're going to a little bit of a different turn here, that's okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, I almost got to unpack a step back here. As a person, I love to argue. Like, I think I would have been a very successful lawyer.
Yeah.
I think I would have been a very mean, angry human being had I spent my life being a lawyer, because that part of me doesn't bring health or goodness. Where I found health and goodness is letting things go and being open to different sides of you and being okay with people seeing differently than me. The more I've done that, the more health I found in my life. So when somebody asks, what do you think of this author or that speaker, if I feel they're saying something that I adamantly believe is wrong, I'll be like, I do not believe that. That's right. And I think I've done that once on here. I genuinely believe the guy that wrote the Passion Bible should be stopped. I genuinely believe that. It's bad scriptural interpretation. There are all kinds of other people that have opinions or views or like perspectives that I might look at and be like, I don't know, but I'm not like, no, don't read that or whatever. There are some that I'll recommend because I really, I sort of resonate with them. Alcorn is somebody who I would say does a lot of imagination, but imagination can be cool. Like, imagination is one of the greatest things a historian can have, because you have to take dead things and picture what they might have looked like when they're alive. So in a completely opposite but very similar way, a historian needs imagination. Somebody trying to picture what the future looks like, the two things you haven't experienced, the past and the future, and take these small random pieces in the Bible and try to put them together and make a picture, where I think you have to be super careful. And I don't always know if I love or I can always follow him, is when you're taking the pieces and putting them together. Some pieces, like let me stick with the history example. I could find things from the past, and one thing I find is a letter written by a courtroom scholar who was writing down prices of wheat in the first century and who they delivered to. If I find that document, it tells me actually a lot about their mathematics system, their trade systems, what the primary currencies were. That's a pretty factual thing. I could also find Homer's Iliad. And Homer's Iliad actually does a pretty good job of giving me some idea of how Greek culture worked. But I don't read it and think, oh, so some humans actually were children of gods that impregnated humans and things, and there were witches and three-headed monsters. Yeah. I'm reading two different things. Sometimes in the same vein, there are parts of the Bible which are written almost like that courtroom scholar who wrote down the costs of wheat, the Gospel of Luke, and there are other things that look more like the Iliad, Revelation. I'm not saying Revelation is all made like imagination. I'm just saying it's written more with a flowery style. So if Luke were to tell me Jesus said this about the future, or Paul's letter to the Thessalonians, which is very like, I'm just talking to you as a person right now. I take it very like, oh, I think I'm what we might say literal. Like those words mean what I think they mean. Versus someone who's like, and the great 10-headed dragon with the harlot upon its head rises out of the ocean and swallows death. So sometimes Alcorn will take stuff like that and be like, oh, look, that's what heaven's like. And I'm kind of like, that's might be not meant to cut as literally as you're taking it. However, he might be right. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not there yet. So I tend to be like, with things like that, or if you read a book that talks about heaven, what it's like or whatever, I would say just be cautious. And I don't know that it seems like he's pretty good with this. We don't know. This is the epitome of the word conjecture. Kind of guessing here. Don't take this as like, no, this is what heaven's like. It could be like this. Here's a reason why it might be. If that's how you're reading the book, I think it's cool. If it's like, oh no, it's this, and this, I'm like, yeah, maybe not. I just don't know. I don't know. So I tend to, because of that, I tend to not like engage with it a ton because I'm like, I don't know. None of us can know. If I get too much into this, I'll feel like I don't know. It's too much sand for me to try to build a house on. Not in the sense that it's wrong, just I don't know. Yeah, no,
it's fair. But it also emphasizes, I know, there's 3 times more verses about hell than there is heaven in the Bible. And I don't know if that's actually an accurate statement. I've heard that statement, but I don't think it's accurate, to be blunt.
It probably is. The Bible doesn't talk about because the Bible doesn't talk about going to heaven. Yeah, it does talk about hell.
It does talk about hell a lot. But the point being is we have information, but I like your analogy of effectively I see a menu and like, okay, I have exact information.
Right.
We're still, there's still some interpretation needed in this. Sure. But it's the beauty of reading your whole Bible because you need to be able to interpret this to this. As you were talking about near the beginning, I love the book of Joshua because the book of Joshua, I feel, carries us through that beginning stage of the Old Testament into the meat and potatoes of the Old Testament, the flyover area where people might not really engage. But it starts that, hey, here's this last really obedient guy to the Lord, and everything falls apart because he was the last truly obedient person, and it all went downhill from there. So that's a very important book to me, and that's one of my first of the year I always read Joshua because it just kind of reframes my whole brain.
And sticking with what I just said, when you read the book of Joshua, the author of Joshua wants you to actually believe that people marched around a city and God tore the walls down.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't read the book of Joshua as like, well, maybe this is a metaphor. I think he actually wants you to think that happened. So again, I'm not saying that everything miraculous in the Bible is a metaphor, not by any means. Jesus turning water into wine was not a metaphor. It actually, that author wants you to believe that actually happened and shocked people. But then there are other things. And let's stick with what you said about hell. Here's a very common analogy. I'm opening a can of worms here, but it's okay. Jesus tells a parable about a rich man who dies, and he's burning and he's thirsty. And here's another guy who is actually this righteous beggar. He's like, "Will you just give me some water?" And he's like, "No, I can't even give you water." And that parable becomes, for some people, the like solidification or like the proof that what we call eternal conscious torment, burning in hell, is factual. Well, look, Jesus said they burn in hell. And then where I said, hold on, I'm not even having a conversation right now about whether hell is literally an eternal place of burning fire. That, though, is a parable. Yeah. And every parable Jesus ever told was fake. That's the nature of a parable. Yeah. He makes stuff up to make a point. So if there was not a real Samaritan walking on a road that found a beat up guy. That's a parable. It's a parable comes alongside like making something up alongside something that is true in order to help you understand what is true. And a fable is a parable in a sense. There was never really a rabbit and a turtle that raced each other. It's telling you something true about hard work and dedication.
Yeah.
So taking that and saying, oh, Jesus said hell is fire in eternity, is like, hold on. But you still have to deal with it. You still have to wrestle. So wait, does he mean it? Is it? So all I'm saying is, like, there are times where we hit the Bible where we have to say, is this speaking about what eternity is like? Is there something I should be pulling from here? How literal should I read it? How figurative? How metaphorical? What's the point? That's the journey of interpreting the scriptures, but always thinking to yourself, okay, first, how should I be reading this? What style of writing is this? What is the author wanting to communicate? Is it, no, this is a factual historical event, or I'm just trying to teach you a truth? Both of those things are in the Bible, especially when it comes to the future. Yeah. Especially when it comes to the future. Like what's to come, so much of it seems to waffle back and forth between, I think that's literal, I think that might be metaphorical, and it's very hard to make sense of sometimes. As obviously we still argue about it.
Yep.
So.
Is it fair to say that God wins is an appropriate
God wins
ending to that?
That is the story of Revelation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's literal. That's not figurative.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, this was good. Man, I talked a lot. It's good though. I felt like I left some things hanging in my message.
Well, and once again, I appreciate that, because you weren't going easy on us, and frankly, I really appreciate that. And so that when you're not going easy on us, you are going to leave some things hanging. Yeah. But the heart, the intent, and the thing that we should all walk away with is, we are a church that prioritizes families. We are a church that wants to reach other families, and we're not looking to do it by being fake. We're not looking to do it by falsehood. We're looking to do it by strengthening the families we have to hopefully connect and love on other families in this community, and not for the purpose of numbers, but for the purpose of numbers of the kingdom, not for the numbers of Woodland Church. And that's what I walked away with, and that's what I felt from everything. And I really appreciate that, because that's what I want to do. Every single day, I get to talk to dozens of people, and all I'm trying to do is just share the love of Christ with them in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes direct, sometimes indirect. But that's what you're saying we're looking to do here, is we're just trying to deepen the families we have in hopes to connect with more families. And you didn't say Battle Creek, you said Calhoun County. I love that. We have people coming from all over the place here. And oh, by the way, once we get all Calhoun County figured out, then we can start moving over to other counties, right? But I really appreciate next year, one goal at a time. But I really appreciate that, and I hope that's what people walked away with. And yes, these deeper conversations and these deeper things should be engaged. But just recognize the heart of what this church is going towards right now is to build families, to build our community for the kingdom. And I love that. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll get there. Or we'll still keep striving towards it until he comes back. Yeah.
I mean, I always like to play the advocate for the average Joe listening too, because
or the average Joanne.
The average Josephine.
We're multi.
Yes, whatever it is. Whatever it is.
But I mean, I think we can listen to all the conversations, and it's a lot. And I think it's tempting to, in the end, just be like, what does it matter what happens? Like, if we know we're with Christ, if we're going to heaven forever, or, as scripture says, like you explained, coming back here, like, it's easy just to throw it away.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to ask those questions. If you're living and breathing and listening to this, you are actively part of that story. And even to go back to something that you said prior, the whole conversation of like, well, I don't have any, some people say like the ultimate goal is to not have desires and to empty yourself, and it's, earth is just, it's nothing, and it's all about going to heaven. Like, if that is your theology, it's important because it shapes how you live here. Like, if you believe that walking on earth, is essentially pointless or just a holding cell for eternity, that's going to affect how you do ministry. That's going to affect how you treat people, how you see your everyday life, how you see your career, how you see everything. So I think it's important to to make that distinction. And also I think one of the things that happens also in the church is humility, because even we struggle with, well, it's not, it's not selfish desires. Like, humility is not being void of desire. Because I think even when we talk about find Jesus, find life, like, a lot of us have kind of this a little bit of a twisted theology that, well, finding life here and desiring more is selfish or bad, when, I mean, your spirit is compelled towards finding life. Like, another Chesterton thing that I'm taking away from orthodoxy that I'm reading right now is, like, humility has moved from a place of ambition to a place of conviction, and conviction is not where it's supposed to be. Humility is supposed to be the basis from which we create, like, we acknowledge that we're small so that we can, make greater things and pursue greater things. And it should be a motivator for us to find life, to find Jesus. It's not about stripping ourselves of everything good and just hoping to find that in heaven. Like, that's, if that's what it was about, then God feels pretty cruel for just locking us here until there's, we go into the mystery. So it is important, and it shapes what we do and how we think. So
yeah, that's good.
The question matters.
But I really appreciate that. And I apologize, just one more thing, which is never true for me, by the way. But when you just said that about someone's just eternal focused, they're going to make different decisions, and it almost, their lifestyle might mimic more of an atheist who says we're all just worm food, because they're just living for self in a sense, because they're like, well, what's the point? Because it's all about the end game. It's not about the now. And your whole message was about don't forget the now. It's not that the end game isn't there. Of course, the end game's there, but don't forget the now. The now is so important, and that's why I make sure we take away from your message. That's why I like the present tense presentation you gave of don't forget the now. The now is, the old, live in the dash. The year you were born, year you died, live in the dash. I guess I would call your message a little bit of a live in the dash message.
Sure.
Well, it can tempt us to live like materialists too. This is it until then. You'll go on autopilot if that's what you believe. And as we know, like, all of Scripture is about just the Lord's just intricate work in all of our decisions. And, if we only believe that that's what's important, then being in tune with His Holy Spirit step by step, day by day, isn't as motivating if we just think that, well, it's, we just got to hold on and empty ourselves and just, become less until, we die. And everything we see in Scripture is Jesus like, no, walk it. Like, Jesus came to give us principles for now. So
it's it definitely connects your life. Yeah. What you think will definitely how you live. Even we have talked about this a lot, especially the Colossians series. I know we're running long here, but I mentioned this podcast probably 3 or 4 months ago. The difference between looking at sin and salvation as lawbreaker, judge versus sickness and doctor is really life-changing for me personally. And it's connected, because I just got to get to heaven is lawbreaker, judge thinking. I broke a law, therefore when I die, the judge is going to throw me in hell. Yeah. I got to figure out how to get a non-guilty verdict. And that's how they interpret dakasune, righteous or justified, as I got to get a non-guilty verdict so I can get into heaven. If you look at it as sickness doctor metaphor, to be in the right is to be whole. It's to be what you're supposed to be. It's to be standing with the one who actually can make you well. And to look at brokenness or sin not as, I got to just try to avoid as much of this I can so I don't lose my get out of hell card. Or, no, I can't lose my get out of hell card so I can sin as much as I want. And Paul's in Romans, he's like, no, stop it. Like, you've been free. And so what Paul does is when he's addressing that issue, he quickly shifts his metaphor from just talking about sin to slavery. He says, no, think of it like slavery. You were a slave to a master who was beating you, and you've been freed from it. Don't go back to slavery. So his whole picture there is not, hey, you did the right thing to go to heaven when you die. He's like, no, right now in your life, you had a disease. You had a slave master keeping you in chains. Jesus broke it to give you life. You were experiencing pain, which in any way possible, pain is the sign that something is wrong or off. And he brought healing and wholeness. Don't go back to it. So the reason we seek holiness isn't just to keep God happy to make sure we get in when we die. Holiness is like this sense of this, I'm now living the way God made me. I'm actually whole, healthy, and this is what God made for me. And I want to choose that in my life to experience it. Is that selfish? Is it selfish to go to the doctor? What a dumb question. I'm not going to the doctor. That's just me being selfish. Shut up and go get the doctor. Whatever. Take some medicine. You're
in a real doctor, not one like you.
Yeah. Good call.
Touche. That's a good way to end
I
it.
got to get one back. Come on.
Good way to end it. Hey, this is cool. I went long, but it's a podcast, so whatever. Turn it off when you want. But dude, glad to have you on, Matt. Thanks for being.
It was an absolute riot. I really appreciate, and it was a little nerddom, and I appreciate a little nerddom. So
that's the fun thing about podcasts is you can be nerdier than maybe you can on Sunday morning. So
yeah,
people on Sunday morning, they have to sit there and listen. So you got to be whatever on the podcast. Like, turn it off if you're bored. Whatever. I don't care. I usually get through like half of a podcast. I'm like, I got these. But anyway, all right, this is great. At Battle Creek this weekend, I'm going to go the next step, talking about the mission, the way that we break this down by being rooted, growing, overflowing. If you were someone that attends Marshall, you're like, wait, didn't we just do that? Again, yeah, Marshall was kind of staggered a week behind us. So actually, Pastor Eli, who's one of our newest staff members, is actually speaking at Marshall. It's going to be fantastic.
Fantastic.
And then next week, the first Sunday of February, depending on when you're listening to this, at both campuses, we are kicking off a study of the Gospel of Matthew, which I've been looking forward to. We talked about that like last summer. I wanted to do it. So we're just going to dive in and go through the whole book. See how long it takes us, but not like verse by verse, but probably like chapter, chunk, sections at a time. So we'll get through it. It'll be good.
My Calvary Chapel heart appreciates it. I'm eagerly anticipating.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm especially excited about the 5 through 8. I love Matthew 5 through 8, what we call like the Sermon on the Mount, like the greatest sermon ever. Like big red letter sections. I could spend months in there. Yeah. Hopefully I don't work. Okay.
Drop some bars.
Guys, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Everyone, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the In the Woods podcast. Thanks, everybody.